I'd like now to ask Adotey, who was the chair for the other session, to actually tell us more about the African Cooperative Union and how this initiative is going to develop. Over to you, Adotey.
Good. All right. Thank you very much for that. So what I want to talk about is the objectives and the ACU. Hold on. So as Brother Stanford said, the ACU was formally founded in 2013, and it's been regulated obviously since then. I always like to say to people, the fact that we are out and about means that we haven't stolen anybody's money up to now. But the ACU is an African People's Knowledge and Finance Cooperative. In other words, we are uniting around our respective skills, and we are trying to unite around the money that we are trying to accumulate. Our objective is to create a dynamic ecosystem of cooperatives in the UK owned and run by African people. Easy to say, perhaps not so easy to do. We have 4 key elements in this quest. And the first is this: you join the ACU, I beg your pardon, and you buy shares. Each share is worth £50, and we have a limit on people owning 400 shares. This is £20,000 for those of you want to know. And the money that is used to, there's also a membership fee, but the money that is used to purchase the share is put into what we call a community investment fund. What's the purpose of the fund? The purpose of the fund is to, for it to be used to support African people to start or develop their own livelihoods, i.e. to start or develop their own businesses. So we want to create from the community a means to actively support people who want to start their own businesses. We also have, we want the fund to grow, and we have, not as an aside, but as the fund, as maybe we find that we don't have, we're not using all the funds, we intend to try to acquire African and Caribbean government bonds as a way of putting, government bonds that is, as a way of maybe supporting the activity of those governments in the area of socioeconomic development, but also generating for the organization some kind of an income. So that's the first element, this community investment fund. And that turns, obviously, as I said, from the community investment fund built up from the payments for shareholding into the business development loans. So we know that there's a long history of people not, I mean, we've heard about people not being even allowed to rent property. So it's not being allowed to borrow for business purposes is also something which is not at all common within our community. And recent studies done by the Runnymede Trust go through a whole list of social and economic characteristics, and we are at the bottom of many, including the one that is about access to finance. So we want to support people to do that, to access money. But we also want to kind of have a hands-on approach to what we do, so that once we provide the money, we want to be able to as well provide training for people who want it. So we have a series of planning to start a series of business training programs, and under the current climate, there will be webinars. We are going to start that process next month to have a series of, to have a monthly webinar where we're going to discuss different aspects of business management, the 4 functions of business and other things, and also what is involved in actually operating a cooperative as a particular kind of business. So that is what we're going to do to try and explain to people what cooperativism means, or cooperatives mean within the normal context. Because again, a lot of our people think that buying black is acting cooperatively. And it may be lots of things, but it's not exactly acting cooperatively in the sense that we mean it. So we want to explain that, you know, it requires a different kind of relationship between people. And so that's what we want to do. And we want to support people, as I said, across all the business functions through this regular kind of public training exercises. We shall begin these exercises, these training sessions initially for free, but we anticipate that a time will come when there will be a source of income generation for the organization. The fourth plank of our program is to create a nationwide credit union. So there are a few things that need to be said about this. First of all, most credit unions in the UK, in fact, nearly all, the very small percentage, are restricted in terms of who their membership can be. Now, if you live in, let's say, where I live, in the borough of Lewisham, then we have a credit union for Lewisham. If if I was to work for, I don't know, the local authority, there might be a credit union for people working in the local authority. If it was for a private company, there might be a credit union for people working in a private company. If I could go to my local church, there might be a credit union for people in the local church. But all these are local. What we're saying is that this stymies the ability to do big things. So what we're trying to do is to create a nationwide credit union. And we have been in discussion with something called the Association of British Credit Unions Limited, which is the umbrella body for credit unions in this country. And they have agreed that we can have a nationwide credit union. And the basis of that nationwide credit union is that anybody, what's the so-called common bond, the thing that ties the people together, is that anybody who is a member of the African Cooperative Union can be a member of the credit union, which means that it doesn't matter where you live in England or the UK for that matter. If you belong to the African Credit Union, you can belong to the credit union. Sorry, if you belong to the African Cooperative Union, you can belong to the credit union. So this is, in a sense, a big step forward because it allows us to create something that potentially can be very large. The other element of it, which makes it slightly different, is that it's not special to the ACU, but it is not common within the British credit union movement, which is that most credit unions lend to people for consumption. And until 2012, that was the only kind of lending that they could make. So you could not lend to somebody in your credit union if they said, I want to start a business with this credit union, or I'm going to use it for business purposes. They were happy to lend if you were going to buy a fridge or go on holiday or pay student school fees, but you couldn't start a business. But since 2012, the law has changed and it's been possible for credit unions, if they want to lend for business purposes. And so we're taking advantage of this change in the system. And we're saying, okay, we're going to have a nationwide credit union and we're going to use it to lend for business purposes. But whereas the Community Investment Fund will lend for any kinds of business, the businesses that are going to be created via the credit union will have to be cooperative businesses. And so this is going to be one of the things that we're going to try and do. And through that process, we hope nurture and establish a system whereby you can imagine, if you can envisage, you have a credit union, not yet a bank, but attached to it are a number of small but growing businesses, which may be connected to one another, but they're all connected to the credit union, and which over time can grow and become more robust and resilient, and establish what I said at the top, i.e. a dynamic ecosystem of African-owned enterprises. Okay. So that's a little bit about the credit union. I just wanted to show you this. These two gentlemen here, Bentley Hines on the left and Reynold Greer on the right. These are among the two people that started the first credit unions in England. This picture comes from the 50th anniversary brochure of the Association of British Credit Unions. And they had somebody who took the time to go and research the history of the credit unions in England and discovered that actually the credit unions were started by Africans from the Caribbean. Back in 1964, one credit union was formed in Hornsey, and the other one was formed in Wimbledon. And this was the origin of credit unions in England. Wales had credit unions before this. Scotland had credit unions before this. Ireland had a long history of strong credit unions, but the English did not. So this, a lot of people don't know this, not least English people, but a lot of African people don't know this. So we're saying if you want to have, some institutional growth, Jibril talked about transitioning from generation to generation, then it is these kinds of organizations that will allow you to do that and grow. And this is the kind of thing that we have in mind. I just want to end, but well, I've got 2 more things to say. So what kind of businesses can we imagine being part of this, this ecosystem? Retail stores, shopping malls, perhaps schools, media companies, TV, radio, and cable, publishing companies, software developers, nursing homes, restaurants, accountants, lawyers, architects, partnerships, and so on. All of these and more could be part of this, what we're envisaging. So all we're needing to do is to allow ourselves to imagine and to organize and to take decisions in a steady and consistent fashion. Okay. I just want to end giving some examples of not credit unions, but cooperatives around the world that have been successful, some of which will be familiar to many of you. The Mondragon Cooperative, of course, is the largest workers' cooperative in the world. The Cooperative Home Care Associates, it's based in Spain. The Cooperative Home Care Associates, I believe, I stand to be corrected by Jessica, but I believe is the largest worker cooperative in the United States, and it's run by African and Latino women, African American and Latino women. The Self-Employed Women's Association in India is a cooperative of what it says, self-employed women. The Uralunga Labor Contract Cooperative, I really like this cooperative. It was started by the laborers, the construction laborers, working in the Indian housing and road building sector back in 1927. And today it is an organization of roughly 2,000 people. I advise you to have a look at their website and see what those laborers have been able to build as a cooperative for themselves. Of course, the SACCOs in Kenya, we've learned quite a lot about them today. An organization called the Mata Musa Dubara in Niger is a women's organization. It's a women's credit union in Niger, which has been active and so very successful. And then slightly different from all of these is a region, a whole region, that is a region of Emilia-Romagna in northeast Italy, which is a population of some 3 million people with 9,000 cooperatives, and has successfully become the most prosperous and the safest and the most socially amenable place to live in, almost in the whole of Europe. So we're saying this does work. There are examples. All we need is to believe in ourselves and try to move ourselves forward using this model. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you very much, Adotey, for that enlightening presentation. I can see from the chat that some people were surprised with some of the facts which you actually revealed in your presentation. Thank you very much.